So if you think you're getting older because you've given birth, your hormone shifts change and all of that, that's not true. That's a belief system that we have. That's what we've been told. That's yet another excuse for us to say, hey, there's nothing we can do.
You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast. And as always, we are here to uncover hidden potential within us all by exploring stories that inspire action and bring valuable lessons to light without labels or limitations. Now, today's guest is someone I've been looking forward to meeting because not only because of the focus of her new direction, but also all her own transformation. So let me just give you a little snippet about her. Her name is Heather Deba. She is a metabolic nutrition coach who's transformed her own struggles into this successful business that helps women regain control of their metabolism and their lives, which those two are very well linked. So from being financially strapped to creating a thriving six-figure income, her journey really is inspirational. So she's going to share with us how she helps women break free from that yo-yo dieting and step into a life of sustained health and confidence. And as we're recording this, it is the day after Thanksgiving. So there's something about divine timing for this podcast episode, which is one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to hearing what Heather has to say. So with that, let's formally welcome Heather to the No Labels, No Limits podcast. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. That was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm just over the last few years as I've met with more people who are in the health space. I'm going to use that broadly,
Sure.
But really backing out from like less of the exterior, even though it all affects all of the systems of our body. I've just noticed how more and more my doctor, other doctors, people in that profession are talking about metabolic health being kind of the root. You know, whether you're talking about like way down to the cellular level, but just how it affects all of our systems. So that made me really excited to get to meet and speak with you. But I do want you to, if you'd be willing to start kind of with your own pivot, like because you went from being kind of financially strapped and to now you're very successful and you're really inspiring. So can you share what some of your initial roadblocks, challenges were when you started and kind of how you overcame them?
Yes. So, before, today, I wasn't where I am today, just about 6 years ago. If you met me 6 years ago, I was a complete different woman. I was overweight, low self-esteem, right? And I was just, staying home and trying to help my husband with the restaurant business. And I had a little side business going on with my, other stuff, but it was just never really successful. So anyway, with all of those things happening, I think a lot of women can relate to this, is that when we go through life, we lose who we are, and then it affects all around our lives, careers, families, parenthood, and your finances, your own health. And so I was going through that. And quite frankly, that was probably the lowest point of my life at that point. And I wasn't bringing a whole lot of income myself. The restaurant was doing okay, but my husband was taking care of that side and I was helping occasionally. And then the pandemic hit. And we had lost the restaurant because we just couldn't sustain shut down and everything. So we lost that. And but that was a pandemic just a couple years before the pandemic. And I was in a situation where I was so overweight. I had spent 10 plus years trying to lose weight, like every woman out there who's struggling, whether it's diets or, crash diets or even sculpting, going to the gym, everything that I could do, I would do that. And then to one point, my daughter, I was making cookies with my daughter, and she was at the time she was like 7, I think. And then I just remember to this day, she was wearing little blue leggings, dark navy blue leggings and white little cute Gap t-shirt, with a little bow in her hair. She was pulling those cookies out. And that was the first time she made cookies. And she was so proud of herself. And she looked at me, she goes, Mama, try those. And these are so great. Tell me how they are. And I looked at her, and I remember I was on a diet, and I told her, I said, honey, those look great. Those look delicious, but I can't. And she just looked at me with just that disappointment. It's on her little face, completely changed. She didn't cry. You can just see that disappointment. She goes, Mom, are you still on a diet? And at 7 years old, I have never told my daughter I was on a diet. And it's amazing what they can observe and relate to what you're trying to do. So I said, yes, honey. And I just saw her disappointment, and she goes, oh, dang it. You never try stuff with me. And that's what she said. And that night I cried. I broke down, cried as a mother. And I said, I could not remember the last time I celebrated a birthday, went out with my husband on a date where I actually enjoyed food without having to worry about, oh, how much weight am I going to gain tonight? Or how much time I would have to spend in the gym to burn that calories off. I mean, how many of you guys have been there? We all have. And so I decided to, I don't want to live this way anymore. I felt like such a biggest disappointment to my daughter. And I did not want to be that model for my daughter. So I went on. I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way where I don't have to do this anymore. So then I found this coach at the time. I think I found him on the internet somewhere. And he said, hey, I'll get you to be able to eat all the food you want, get your metabolism up, and you'll be able to lose weight. I said, no way. Because that went against everything we were taught about weight loss. And so, but I didn't have anything to lose. I was like, okay, where do I go? So from there, long story short, and I was hesitating. I'm like, I don't believe you, because, and I was just thinking I have so many limiting beliefs. And that's why I love your show. It's called No Label, No Limit, because we constantly are labeling and putting limits on what our bodies can do, what we can do. So at the time, and he said, hey, do you want to do this or not? Because I don't care if you do or not. I've got a lot of clients. So is it a yes or a no? And I was like, oh my gosh, what a jerk. So anyway, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. That was end of October that year. 2 months after, right before Christmas, I had lost 10 pounds. I went from eating 1,300 calories to 2,400 calories at the same time. It blew my mind. And so I bugged him until he was able to and willing to teach me about how that could happen. So ever since then, and that's what I do these days. Every single day, I help women to accomplish what I accomplished and keep their health sustainable without having to sacrifice so much.
So let me ask you, because it was very touching when you talk. I mean, I could actually, the way you were describing the interaction with your daughter, I can see her in my mind's eye, my version of her, and just the disappointment. So how did that decision in that moment, and even by Christmas of that same year, how did that start to change how you related to food in your house and your daughter's sense of you being on a diet or not being on a diet?
I don't think my daughter remember a whole lot of it. The other day I was asking my daughter, hey, do you remember that cookie thing? She goes, vaguely. I just remember you told me you can't eat, and you always tell me that anyway. So yeah, it sounds like something you say, but I was like, okay, do you remember when was the last time I said that? She goes, I actually don't remember either. I guess it's been long enough. So it really have changed to me, it's all about food, relationship with food. I used to be so scared of food. I used to be so scared of, going out to dinner or Thanksgiving. Gosh, today's the day after Thanksgiving. How many women right there, right now, and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm bloated. And then it's not a good time for me to lose weight because Christmas is going to come. It's going to be another couple pounds. And so I might as well just do that right after New Year's. Right.
So what's the better thing to say though? Whenever I smile when you're describing kind of where you've been, I'm thinking, holy cow. Yeah. Everybody I know, when they get honest, and I'm talking about women, I don't necessarily see this the same for guys, but, can relate to what you just said.
Yeah.
And then, but also then the rationale we put, like, well, I'll just wait,
Yeah.
So what would you shift? Just say someone woke up today and they thought, oh crap, yesterday was out of control. I'll either not eat today, like I'll do the flip, I'll just today, or I'll wait till after Christmas. Tell us what the different choice is that you would recommend.
So the choices is this: you have to shift your mindset. Get rid of the it needs to be convenient for me, time wise, because if you can actually losing weight, yes, part of it is knowledge. You need to know what your body needs. But secondly, it's building that skill set that is sustainable for you for the rest of your life. When is a better time than holiday season? Every single woman I talk to is like, start now. If you can actually manage your health during the craziest time, the hardest time, then guess what? The rest of the year is easy peasy. And the next year you have learned the skill set to eat well while you're having holidays and those kind of things, that every year you will not have to rely on New Year resolutions anymore. That's when you create freedom. Freedom is all coming from doing the things that is hard to do, and actually to be brave enough to face them and say, hey, this is what I need to do. And so that's kind of just a mentality change first. Number two is that get some help if you don't know what to do with your body. So most women don't know what their metabolic naturally rate is. And, we keep on telling ourselves, I'm older. I'm in my 40s now. Most of my clients are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. So within that group of range, we all think, okay, I'm older, so my metabolism's slower. That's a lie, right? Because Harvard Medical School came out an article talking about metabolic rate. They've studied over 6,000 people, aged from 9 months old to 90 something years old, vast majority women. They have found people's metabolic rate do not decrease until you reach the age of 63. So if you think you're getting older because you've given birth, your hormones shifts, change, and all of that, that's not true. That's a belief system that we have. That's what we've been told. That's yet another excuse for us to say, hey, there's nothing we can do. So
Go ahead.
No, that's really what I think, that we have to shift our mindset and really believe what's possible. And I get it. What day to day, what we see is like our body will not release weight. I will be bloated the day after Thanksgiving. Heather, what you're telling me is not what I noticed. But at the same time, what you believe also becomes true. It becomes your belief system will stop you from making changes, or it will be the biggest motivation and source of force behind you to achieve something that's incredible.
So I'm going to say, you jumped up to 2,400 calories a day and lost 10 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm. At the same time.
What was making up those 2,400 calories? So let's talk about two things, like the nutritional shifts you made. Like, did you change what was coming in versus just the volume? So are you eating 2,400 calories of ice cream?
No,
okay.
Of course not. So it's not, you have to look at your calories at like income, right? So typically your income, like when you have all of those calories in, it has to be distributed into different macronutrients or micronutrients. Here's the thing. When it's calories, you use macronutrients as your protein, your carbs, and fats. And each category has its purpose when it comes to your metabolic health. A lot of people will go on a low carb diet or a low fat diet or high protein diet, which is very popular right now as everybody say, hey, let me up my protein. I can tell you there's so many clients of mine, I had to decrease their protein intake and up their carbs for their body to eat these, because your body needs all three, right? So when you're constantly increasing your calories, you also have to look at, are you giving your body what it needs? If you're constantly not making enough money, you're trying to achieve financial wealth, your problem is not to learn how to budget. Your problem is to what? Find new ways to make more money. You can never, ever save to become a millionaire. Millionaires are made. Why? They go out and do things and find new ways to make money. So no matter how little you count calories and how the things you do, it's not about counting calories. It's about getting your body running better so that way it can process more calories. Now, when it comes to the food choices, calories are calories. If you're just looking at purely, let's forget about the wellness of your organs. Okay, let's just talking about weight loss purpose only. You can eat ice cream. You can get all of your carbs and fats from ice cream all day. And if you feed your body the right amount, you will still lose weight. Now, I can't guarantee that your liver and your heart and everything else will run healthy. But at the same time, that's what, when you're talking about calories, when you look at a woman's health and wellness, it is not just a weight loss, right? You have to look at weight loss with very different angles and multiple lenses to look at what you're trying to achieve. That's why so many women will go on crash diets, lose all those weight, and then their weight stalls. And the moment they start eating, no matter how clean they eat, their body will not lose any more weight. And instead, their body will start gaining weight rapidly.
Why is that?
Because it's because metabolic adaptation. So let's think it this way. If you make $10,000 every month, your household, you have a certain budget, right, for that $10,000, and it's very stable month after month after month. Now, let's say you lost 40% of your income. Now you're down to $6,000. At the beginning, you will go, hey, let me find another job or somehow bring this income back up. And meanwhile, let's dip into our savings, because you're not lowering your budget quite yet, right? But if that income doesn't come back up for another 4 months, 6 months, guess what most people do? They start decreasing budgets. They're unwilling to pull more money out of the savings because they're so scared. They're holding on to every dollar. They'd rather go get more credit cards than spending their savings.
That's what the body's doing then, right?
Yes, that's what our body's doing. That's why eventually when you decrease your calories so much, your body fat is your savings. At the beginning, your body will go into that source and say, hey, let me take out my savings to cover up, to actually sustain my life. Eventually, your body goes, I can't, because I don't get enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting to debt, aka diseases will happen. This is where the metabolic diseases, metabolic syndromes happen. Metabolic diseases these days are huge. Look at the rate of diabetes, hypothyroidism. You look at even cardiovascular health diseases. Those are all metabolic diseases.
So are those diseases that you're describing reversible once folks start, like say they are at the point you were 6 years ago and they said, okay, I'm hearing you. And they switch, they change, kind of flip the switch and start going in the direction that you're recommending. Do you see some of those things reverse? Do you see like maybe some of your folks not needing metformin or seeing their heart indicators, their blood levels, all that stuff shift?
Yeah, so they do. Your body started to change. So this reminded me of one of my client, Dana. She was an RN, and she had just retired. She said, "Hey, Heather, I do not want to get on metformin, glucosamide because she has type 2 diabetes." And I asked her, I was like, "What is your blood sugar?" She goes, "Fasted, 235. That is extremely high." And so being a nurse, she knows the side effects and all of that with those drugs, and she doesn't want to take them. So she's like, "Can you help me?" I said, "Sure, we can." And for a diabetic patient, she was very overweight, and she was eating very, very low carb diet, like most diabetic patients do, recommended by doctors, right? So stop taking carbs. And I said, "Well, let's get your metabolic functions better." So as we worked through her body, 4 months later, her fasted blood sugar was 113, 4 months later. And she went from eating around 50 grams of carbs to 235 grams of carbs in a day. She went from eating 1,400 calories to 2,700 calories. She lost 30 pounds at the same time.
That sounds crazy, right? It's
Right?
but it sounds like it's a head scratcher.
Yes, because here's what really happening to your body when you actually start feeding your body right. So now let's think about the money again.
Yeah.
So if you have lost a lot of money, and let's say most women haven't been on a diet once, but multiple times, twice, 3 times, a lot of times. And every single time you get on a diet, you cut down your calories, that takes a big chunk of your income. Let's say go from $6,000, now we're down to $4,000. Your body will lose a little bit more because that's drastic. Eventually you will budget at $4,000 again. And then the moment you bring in another 2,000 bonuses, guess what that is going to go? Savings immediately, because you're right now preparing for the next loss of income. Right now, your mentality went from I was doing fine to completely, I can't, everything we have to save because who knows what the economy is going to do? Who knows if I'm going to lose my job completely? Who knows when I'll be getting my job back, right? So your body does the same with your calories. So what happens is if you start having a job that says, "Hey, I'm going to increase your income every single month, and I'm going to bring those back up, and you're never, ever going to lose your job again, ever." Now, with a little bit income, increasing your income, do you feel safer to spend it? Do you start feeling safer to pay off your debt, the credit card debts you accumulated over the time, right? And now your body does the same when you start to feeding it correctly and consistently. See, the key is consistency. Your health will transform. It's not going to be overnight. You have to give that consistency for your body to relax and trust in you to give it sufficient amount of calories. So that's when everything starts to shift. Your metabolic functions start to improve. Therefore, as a side effect, really, is when you're burning more calories. Basically, your body just utilizing those income again, say, "Hey, let me do repairs on my pancreas, on my liver, on my heart." That's where things start to change.
Wow. So how has the whole weight loss industry gotten all of this wrong, Heather?
I think a couple things. I really do think the industry is really designed for you to spend more money all the time. And nobody really gave you a solution where you need to learn. So think about this. What's in the most interest, the best interest of the population?
Health.
Empowering them with knowledge and teaching them how to eat and teaching them the side effects and everything else. Our health system is not a health system. It's a sick care system. We don't have a health care system. We are reactive we're not proactive when it comes to health. And that's number one. Number two, when it comes to weight loss, here's the thing. And if I can be real with every single listener out there, it doesn't serve me as a business owner for you to lose weight slowly but sustainably for 2 years, because nobody wants to pay me for 2 years nonstop, right? But it serves you if I teach you the right way to do it and telling you, hey, you're not supposed to go in a drastic deficit to lose weight. But what most industries, products, even coaches tell you, hey, let's go into a deficit, drastic. But here's the thing, you will spend more and they can charge you more. And when you see the results super fast, but it doesn't serve you. You don't have more complaint. They don't, as businesses, they don't get complaints. They get results. They brag about them. They use them for marketing and therefore getting more clients and more products sold. And I'm not saying the intentions are not good, but all I'm saying is these drastic diets, when it comes to corporation, it serves the corporation, not our everyday women, everyday person.
Okay. No, I do not disagree with you at all. And I really appreciate your candor about that. And especially now, since, we've had all this recent staying apolitical with it, but all this discussion about like focusing on wellness, health versus illness. And I have my own soapboxes when it comes to like watching family members just get, hey, take this drug. Mm-hmm. And my first thought is, okay, let's look at the side effects. Because honestly, what you have is better than the side effects.
Yes.
And the discomfort of what you have and that.
Yeah.
It's better than the potential or common side effects.
Yeah. And so people like, semaglutide, metformin, those medications were designed to treat diabetes.
Sure.
They were not designed, they were not invented to lose weight. They're now FDA approved for weight loss only because one of the side effects of these drugs is appetite suppressant. They are suppressing your appetite to a way that is very drastic. So if you think about weight loss, every single weight loss method you've ever used, it has one purpose and one purpose only, to create a caloric deficit. If you're not eating, you're creating a deficit. If you go into the gym, you're creating a deficit, right? So there's really, when it comes down to, there's only one way to lose weight, is to create deficit. However, the creating deficit is not to spend more. It's not teaching people to lose more jobs, to make less money. To create a deficit is say, hey, how can I get my body, how can I make more and spending more at the same time? So that way you're never ever feeling deprived of not having one piece of chocolate. You only wait for Thanksgiving for your apple pie. No wonder you're going to eat a whole pie on Thanksgiving Day. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but at the same time,
it happened.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, that is all those drugs are really made for you to not be hungry. And then what happens when you're not hungry? You're not taking that in. You don't feel different until usually it's too late. Until there's other sicknesses comes along. That debt finally starts showing up.
Catches up with you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the metabolic, you talked about hypothyroidism, which is interesting because it's not hyper, right? It's the hypothyroidism. And then the type 2 diabetes. What about like RA and some of the inflammatory kind of diseases?
So here's the thing. All diseases, they're called diseases, dis-ease. It's really based on your body's stress. All diseases are a form of stress, physical stress. Okay, inflammatory response is a stress response. So what happens is that if you are trying to achieve health and metabolic, so when people talk about metabolism, I think this is where most people don't misunderstand the word metabolism. Metabolism, by definition, is all the chemical reactions happens inside of your body from head to toe, every single cell level, to take your food, convert that into energy for all of part of your body to use. Okay, that entire process is called metabolism. Now, what do you think in your body parts that actually is involved in this process? A lot. Your hair grow needs protein, amino acids, right? So your nails, skins, your bones, all of those, your everything. So if you don't, so when people talk of metabolic diseases, I'm just really thinking like, now you have two types of stress in your body come show up. Number one is the physical stress, right? Meaning a lot of physical activities, including workouts, can be stress on your body. There are good stresses, right? But there's when you're sick, when you're taking medications are foreign chemicals. They're not naturally meant for your body, but they can be very beneficial for curing diseases, right? Now, if you got injury, surgery, those are physical traumas. Your body has a cellular level that remembers all of those, right? And then that's just the physical side of stress. Now there's emotional side of stress. We live in a day and age where we constantly are moving. Our mind are completely distracted by social media, TVs, and all media sources out there, right? And our body's now taking on a lot of stress. Therefore, if you look at the population, there's more diseases coming up. There's more people getting sick and tired and having all sorts of diseases. So all of those is a form of stress, coming from a form of stress. Now you can't get rid of the stress for sure, right? But you can pay attention to them. You can do the things that actually aids your body better, feed your body right, do the exercises that are good for you, get off social media, right? And I think a lot, if you look at health, we look at it, Netflix has a documentary called The Blue Zones. So that they've studied several blue zones in the entire world where people have the longest lifespan. They live to be the longest and healthiest and happiest people on earth. And all of them have something we don't have here in developed countries. What do they have? They have a very simple lifestyle. They typically are not involved in a lot of politics. They're not involved on social media. Their technologies are usually behind. So what happens then? They can be very content very easily. We are comparing ourselves constantly with others. And that's why we have higher cases of depression, anxieties, and that affects your body, your metabolic function. So if you think about this, as a mother, I have two kids. One of my kids plays volleyball and the other one plays basketball and volleyball. Constantly I'm going to their games. I'm like, okay, look at this. Look at the other parents doing. What am I doing wrong? Like, what can I do more to support my kids? And you're constantly comparing. And now you get on social media, you're like, oh my gosh, that woman went on a trip. Gosh, I wish I could go to that trip. Even if it's just those moments, they accumulate. And so if we look at your life, I think the best thing we can do, I don't know if it's possible at the level of our entire country as a culture, but I do think we can start with each individual. There is simplify, getting off of social media, because it really messes with your brain all the time. And it causes so much problems and so many stress to your brain, to your hormone functions, to your metabolic health all over. It's not just food. And I think that's where people misunderstand about metabolism. is they say, oh, if I fix what I eat, then I won't have these diseases. It would help, but it won't cure.
Won't cure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really powerful image to paint, but also the sense of it's not just one thing, it's more holistic than that. So like, even if I take out the toxins I'm eating, let's start, and I'm using that word knowing that that may not even be totally possible these days. However, say I just decide I'm going to eat clean, but I don't clean up my mental environment, the stuff I'm letting in, it can offset that. And it's like, there's no major change.
Yeah.
Or the change might be little or short-lived.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. A year ago, I had a client who was so stressed out. I mean, her stress level was probably at 10, if 10 was the highest. And it's constantly, I hear her complain about if it's not her work, it's about her in-laws. If it's not her in-laws, it's something else. And so finally, I had just sat down. I said, look, your weight is not dropping, not because you're not eating right. You're doing everything right. She was going to the gym. She was eating a, very healthy, clean diet. She was, drinking a lot of water, getting a lot of rest. But at the same time, and I said to her, I said, if you do not mentally relax, your weight will not drop. And so I gave her a 30-day detox program. And at the first, I said, for a week, no phone, social media at all, no, not even Netflix, nothing for a whole 7 days. Then from there, we start to doing exercises at night and in the morning to increase her mental capacity, her focus. And by the end of that month, I think she said, oh my gosh, I have never felt happier. And what's crazy is that my job was at the busiest time of the year. My kids haven't changed. I have 2 teenagers. Nothing changed. I just felt happier. And along the journey during that month, her weight started dropping. We did nothing. We didn't change anything when it comes to her food. And her body just started releasing. It was a really incredible thing to witness. And that's what I teach my clients.
That's a powerful example, though, of because it's so subtle. Those moments when you leave home and all of a sudden my car, because it'll Bluetooth connect, I'll go, uh-oh, I don't have my phone. Then the internal dialogue is, do I need my phone? Can I go without my phone? Yes. If I'm getting a wreck, someone else will call for me. But also, can I just chill out and go? And you know what? It's so great. And it felt, as someone said, I tried to reach you, and I'm thinking, yeah, too bad. I was gone 45 minutes. But that's that whole thing about needing to be able to be in contact with people.
Right. Yeah. And that's caused anxiety for adults. And so last year, this was before, last school year, my younger one is almost 11 at this point. Last school year, halfway through the school year, it was like a year ago. So she came home one day. She said, hey, Mom, I want to tell you something. I don't want you to be worried. I said, okay, what? She goes, I can't focus at school. I daydream a lot. And so I would hear the teacher talk and my mind would go away. And I can't pull my attention back. And I was like, how long do you think you can focus at each time? She goes, probably 15 to 30 seconds. And I thought, holy moly, there's something's wrong. And I talked to her teacher, and her teacher was actually recommending me to take her to see a therapist and possibly, she didn't right out say it, but getting on some of the ADHD kind of medications and those kind of things. And so I got home, I thought about it. I said, if those work for adults, will that work for my kid? Because her attention span was so low, so short. And I'm so proud of that. She was very aware of it, and it came to me with
for self-aware.
Yeah. And so I said, hey, honey, I said, I'm going to do something maybe a little bit hard for you to do. but you know how you're really having a hard time, your grades is down because of it. Do you want to fix that? She goes, yeah. And I said, okay. I looked at her. I should just look at me almost a little scared of what I was going to say next. And I said, honey, can we turn off our devices for 60 days? No YouTube, no TV, no movies, zero screen, unless you're online and taking an online class. But other than that, no screen, zero. And she goes, and this was right before we were about to start summer. And she goes, oh, okay, but how do I talk to my friends? I said, you can call them. Actually use your phone as a phone and call them, not video calls. And she goes, okay. And I said, can you do it? She goes, I don't know, but there's no better, she said, but it's better than distracting myself every single day. I said, oh, she's okay. So she did 60 days of detox. And guess what? The first week was the hardest. By about 20 days in, she was happier. She came home. Every time she goes out and plays, she comes back and she said, Mom, I'm loving this with no TV things because I love to read and I think about all sorts of crazy ideas. And she picked up crocheting. She was doing all sorts of stuff, really being a kid. So we did that all the way through summer. This school year started. I'm not saying that you can't do those again. She started watching TVs again and those kind of things, but it was very controlled, right? And her grades were up. She said, I don't daydream anymore. She sleeps better. She doesn't daydream. She focused better. Her reading comprehension, she's in 5th grade. Her reading comprehension is 7th grade. And all of that.
She's really proud of herself too.
Yes, she was. She was like, this is the best thing ever, even though I could not watch TV. And so just that alone really proved to me, plus all of my clients, that social media screen time really does a number on our health. We just don't know because that's just such a normal thing to have these days.
It is, and it's easy to say, okay, well, this is what's going on. That's why I was going to ask you, is there a relationship between that and the rise in ADHD, ADD diagnoses, especially in kids? And so that whole thought about it's easier to medicate than to go through, quote unquote, the discomfort of detox.
I think you still need to have professional opinion. I think as people, you know yourself better than anyone. You know your children better than anyone. I think a lot of things, eliminating social media and screen time will be a great way to start, only because it's the safest way. You have no downside, period, when it comes to your health. So why not go that route? If that route doesn't change anything, it doesn't, improve anything, then maybe the next step would be going to see, a doctor or somebody who is in that field. But I do think whether you do choose that route or not, eliminating some social media is great. Because if you do, I have a client a couple months ago, she said she had terrible sleep. And I asked her, I said, hey, what did you do the day? Like when you go to bed, think about what you did today. What do you remember? She goes, work. And I said, what did you do at work? She sits in front of a computer all day long. She goes, I don't remember. Because everybody was going through the motions so often enough that our brain's not really there. We have no attention. We are not present. When we're working, we're thinking about laundry. We're working, we're thinking about, oh gosh, I got to go grocery shopping because we're out of milk, right? How many of us multitask? A lot of people say, oh, I'm great a multitasker. But really, multitasking is really a sign of lack of attention, lack of present moments awareness. And without that present awareness, you can't grow. Your productivity actually is low. And it actually is really bad for your memories too, because now she didn't remember anything. So we have to do exercises to fix that. And then it is a lot when it comes to mental health and when it comes to your health, metabolic health. I think it needs to be all around a wellness program.
So if we're freaking anybody out right now in this conversation saying, oh my God, it's too big to even tackle, why bother? It's not.
It's not.
Because Heather's not saying, okay, go on a diet, do this, do that. She just take all these things in as consideration of things that might be affecting our health. And I know I rebel. So people say, well, did you see such and such happen to, and it's a family member, people I care about and want to stay up with. I said, how do you know that? Like, they're my family. It was on Facebook. I said, I don't do that much. Unless someone actually sends me a message, then I'll look because I know it was directed to me. But it's so easy. Like you said, you go and then you forget what you've done and 10 minutes is gone, half an hour, something else. But then you go, but I went there for one thing, which was a 2-minute thing.
Right.
That's all it was 2 minutes. So it's so easy for our brains to get hijacked.
It is very, very easy these days, for sure.
Well, I was listening to a study. I think it was not that many years ago. They said the average attention span was like 8 or 9 seconds, and now it's even shorter. And it's like, that's shocking and not good, because I know people tell me they can't read anymore. And I'm one of the people who I love to read, but because there's just this stuff going on, I usually listen. So I don't have to, I can tune people out, but also it just helps. It helps. But the attention span to stay on a page and actually recall is different. It uses my brain differently. And I'm assuming it uses the brain differently in general.
Yeah. So a really kind of easy thing, if you're listening to this, you can do at home to improve your moment presence awareness, something you can do anywhere. So what you want to do, like I do this with my clients all the time, and I teach my clients to do this. They're just like you said, you don't have to do a lot of things. There's a million things you can do to improve your health, and every single one of them will contribute. But to start off, all you need to do is just 1 or 2 things. Pick the one that will give you the most, move the needle the most, and stick to it. And if you think, oh, I need to drink a gallon of water, and I need to eat 100 grams of protein, and I need to move 10,000 steps, and I need to meditate, and then I need to take all sorts of supplements, and if I have to do all of that to get healthy, I'm telling you that's not the case. All you need to do is to pick one. If your mental stress is high, if you notice I can't focus, I don't sleep well, maybe just do this one exercise at home. That literally will shift things in ways you can't even imagine. So if you get home, do this. It's really simple. So you can grab a picture of something you're very, very familiar of, okay? It's a picture of yourself, or it's a picture of your family member you love, or even if it's just objects. So like I have this Stanley cup in front of me, but if I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the logo, I'm looking at the color, I'm looking at, every little water bubbles on it. I'm looking at everything. So at night, what you can do, you are going to be that scanner. Think about picturing that bottle from the top to the bottom in your mind. And do that without your mind shifting and wonder at all. And see how long you can hold that attention, right? You can see that, like scan the bottle from, like as is paper printing. You do that with your brain image and you print out the whole thing. And do that once and twice, keep on repeating. How many times can you do that without a shred of thoughts coming into your mind? And if you do, start all over again. If you can do that 20 times, you will notice your focus, your energy level, and your present awareness throughout the day is going to skyrocket.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you for any more tips, because there's something about when you were describing that hit me in a way. I'm thinking, That right there is so powerful, because I can see how it could disrupt a whole bunch of other things if you can stay in that space, so it can disrupt negative thinking, limiting beliefs, the I can't, I'm too tired, all that. It's like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about this. In this case, your Stanley water bottle.
Yeah.
But that's super powerful, Heather.
Because that is training your brain to stay focused
on what you want it to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus what it thinks it should go wander about.
Mm-hmm. And then you can see if your a present awareness improved by going before you go to bed at night and start recall your events that happened to you backwards. So
it's recent to, like, you'd start with the end of the day and go to the front of the day?
Yes. So I would, if you're just laying in bed, I would start with, hey, changing into my pajamas, brushing my teeth. Okay, when I was brushing my teeth, can I recall what's on my counter? Right? And what was I wearing? What was my hair up in a bun, or is it down, or what? Right? And then you've done that and you're like, okay, before that, what did I do? Before that, what did I do? Before, I was eating dinner. What did I have? What conversations did I have during that dinner time? If you can recall details and going backwards, you can recall all the way to the point you woke up, your focus level is incredible. If you can do that, your neuroplasticity will improve as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, this took a turn I didn't expect. What a great education from you and what you're doing. But I don't want to forget that you are offering folks who are listening to this a leadership wellness boost session. Is that correct?
No, I was, so if you're listening to this podcast and to all the women out there, as a thank you to listening to all the way to the end, I'm giving you a fire metabolism boosting kit, which is usually, you can't find it anywhere online. This is for somebody who's paid client typically. But if you want this one, this is for women who have been stuck in a certain way and they want to get their metabolism up. So this is where you can use for the next 8 weeks, 2 months, to get your metabolism up by at least 500 calories without working out, without having to change what you eat and all of those things. You can do it on your own, and also will include some of the brain exercises that really changes your neuroplasticity, gave you that focus and the calmness that I was talking about earlier. If you want this one, all you need to do is just go to my Instagram and DM me the word no labels, and I will send that to you. So you can find me on Instagram, and my name is Heather Deba, just at Heather Deba, how you spell Heather, Heather, last name Deba. Again, that's Heather Deba, Deba, and just DM me the word no labels, and I'll personally send that over to you.
That's extremely generous. And I'm going to do it because I want to see what you're talking about behind the veil.
Yes.
Learn more about it. So Heather, with that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to take us out of the podcast with something you want every listener to remember from our multi-directional conversation.
Yes, this conversation has just kind of sparked a lot of topics, and we can talk about this, for days straight. So if there's anything, if you're listening to this and you really want to improve your health, this is what I want you to do. There's no shortcuts. Pay attention to what you eat. Start logging down your food. Start using MyFitnessPal, whatever apps you want to use, and take a look at how much it goes inside your body. And make sure you measure your weight every single day, just so you can, for like 10 days, just see where you're at. Because data gives you great insights. And from there, all you need to do is to work on your mental stability, which is those exercises you're going to get. It's going to be a great help if you can just do that. To start your journey, it doesn't need to be complicated. It's the consistency. It is something that you have to do no matter what. Consistency brings the greatest results. simplicity, consistency. That's what I want you to remember.
Thank you, Heather. It's been really quite a pleasure having you on the podcast today, and just kind of a nice divine alignment with our holiday season. So I hope you have a great holiday.
I had a great time today, and I'm my holidays lined up, and it's busy time, but it's wonderful. So
great. All right, folks, we'll see you next week for another episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic business coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. Please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Till next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.